You're live.
Well, good afternoon. Welcome to City Council. Today is Tuesday, February 17, 2026. It's approximately 1 p.m. I'm Mayor Eric Enriquez. Before we start, I want to mention that we have an American Sign Language interpreter up front, and they're with us at every City Council meeting. If you all stand, please, I'd like to start with a moment of silence for the brave men and women of the United States Armed Forces as they protect our interests around the globe, as well as the courageous men and women of the Las Cruces Police and Las Cruces Fire Department. Councilor Harris, if you'll lead us in the pledge. We'll go ahead and start with presentations and proclamations. Councilor Harris.
All right. Our first proclamation this week is for National Engineers Week, presented to David Franco, Emmett Rivera, and Fernando Vasquez. If you could join me up here. Sure. All right, thanks. Whereas February 23rd through 27th, 2026 is recognized as National Engineers Week, a time to honor engineers of all disciplines whose creativity, technical expertise, and problem-solving advance innovation, strengthen critical infrastructure, and inspire a diverse and well-prepared engineering workforce. And whereas El Paso Electric employs more than 1,100 professionals, including over 150 engineers representing environmental, electrical, mechanical, and civil disciplines, whose work supports the safe and reliable delivery of electricity to more than 460,000 customers across a diverse, multi-state region. And whereas, working in close collaboration with field crews, operations teams, and community partners, El Paso Electric engineers lead efforts to modernize the electric grid, enable electrification, integrate renewable and emerging energy technologies, strengthen system resilience, and responsibly prepare the region's infrastructure for future growth and innovation. And whereas engineers serve as leaders, mentors, and role models by demonstrating how technical knowledge can be applied to improve quality of life, support economic development, protect the environment, and encourage students and community members to pursue careers in engineering and technology. Now, therefore, we, Mayor and City Council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim the week of February 23rd through February 27th, 2026 as National Engineers Week. There you go. Pictures.
Good afternoon. Thank you to the City of Las Cruces for this honor. It is a privilege to represent El Paso Electric during the National Engineers Week. We are proud to serve our New Mexico service area and our broader regional communities with a safe, reliable, and resilient energy. This proclamation isn't just for our team. It recognizes the dedication of all engineers across the field. This commitment to innovation, problem solving, and public service strengthens our infrastructure and helps our community thrive. On behalf of El Paso Electric, and in this appreciation of the engineer professions as a whole, thank you for your celebrating the impact engineers make every day. Thank you.
All right. Next, we have a proclamation for Support Our Healthcare Providers Week, and this will be presented to Joanne Turnbull. Wherever?
Maybe turn that mic so I can.
Sure.
Okay. Because I'm not the only one that should be here.
Okay.
The rest of,
Oh, I'm sorry. We got that one. There you go.
oh, thank you. Okay. Hi, my name's Joanne Turnbull, and the rest I'd like the steering committee. Janet, Allison, come on up, and Juan. And Charlotte Lipson, yeah. And you read, right?
I will read.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Whereas the residents of the city of Las Cruces and Doñana County deserve high-quality health care, and whereas the severe shortage of providers, particularly physicians, is a primary obstacle to accessing healthcare services, and whereas New Mexico's high-risk environment poses significant barriers for physician recruitment and retention, and whereas the shortage has become a crisis that deprives citizens of access to timely care, and whereas citizens whose health disparities are made worse by financial, racial, and accessibility constraints suffer the most from the shortage, and whereas the mayor and city councilors of Las Cruces and commissioners of Doñana County support the health of our community, we proclaim an educational campaign to raise awareness about the provider shortage and empower citizens to advocate for improved access to health care. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and city council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim this week, February 16th through 20th, 2026, as Support Our Healthcare Providers Week.
I want to thank the City Council for their support in this effort. I represent Presence Primero, as does all this group here, and actually all of you. There are 1,000 people who are working with us now. And the idea is not a fight between lawyers and physicians, it's about access to health care for us, period. That's it. And what we've done, and hope you'll join us with this, and thank you again, City Council, because the first city in New Mexico, we hope there'll be more, is to educate people about the issues, and second, to collaborate with people and form partnerships, and then to work with the legislator. So thank you again.
All right, and next we have a proclamation for Pioneer Bank Day, presented to Savannah Montoya. And everyone else in the entourage, of course. Hey. Hello. There's fine. Yeah, we're good. All right. Whereas for 125 years, Pioneer Bank has served as a dedicated community partner throughout southeastern New Mexico, guided by its mission to support the citizens, businesses, and neighborhoods that shape our region. And whereas Pioneer Bank continues to strengthen the city of Las Cruces by providing personalized financial services, supporting small businesses, and offering resources that help families build financial stability and long-term success. And whereas Pioneer Bank invests in community well-being through volunteerism and philanthropy, partnering with nonprofit organizations that address vital needs such as youth services, education, housing, food security, and community development. And whereas Pioneer Bank employees generously volunteer as mentors, coaches, board members, advocates, and neighbors, exemplifying the heart and values of true community banking. And whereas Pioneer Bank celebrates this milestone anniversary, the City of Las Cruces recognizes not only its 125-year legacy, but also its continued dedication to uplifting communities, strengthening local partnerships, and expanding opportunities for all who call Las Cruces and New Mexico home. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim February 18th, 2026 as Pioneer Bank Day. All right, finally, we have a proclamation for Government Communicators Day presented to City of Las Cruces Communications Office. Wherever you want to stand. Everyone get in there. All right. Whereas the role of government communications professions is to inform, educate, and engage in their communities, and whereas robust communication in government creates trust and inspires residents to take action and be involved, and whereas government communications create relationships and calls to action, build awareness and understanding through storytelling, engage and foster engagement on civic issues, and use all channels to include people in critical decisions. And whereas it is essential to have strong communications in government because it is a foundational element of living in a democracy where people have the freedom to make their voice heard. And whereas Las Cruces is proud and has deep gratitude and recognition for government communicators' professionalism, dedication, hard work, commitment, enthusiasm, and creativity. Now, therefore, we, the Mayor and City Council of Las Cruces, New Mexico, do hereby proclaim February 21st, 2026 as Government Communicators Day. Thanks. Of course.
Thank you, Councilor Harris. Thank you, Mayor, Council, for this recognition. I'm Mandy. I'm the Communications Director here at the city. And my team, as you can see, I have an amazing group of professionals that we work with. We do media, we do advertising, video, digital, volunteer network, community engagement, and as an extension of our team, we have the police public information officers here as well. And so I just want to thank the departments that we all get to work with, because if it wasn't for them and the amazing work they do, we wouldn't have these stories to tell. And I want to thank the mayor and council for their leadership and for valuing the work that our team does. So thank you very much. Now we'll squeeze in for
Yeah, everyone hold the thing.
Thank you.
All right, that's it.
Yes, next we'll have Assistant Utilities Director Carl Clark come up, do a brief presentation.
Thank you, Mayor. So basically, I'm presenting the CCR here. This is the 2024. We'll be seeing the 2025 numbers come. We have to have them out by the 1st of July. That's a requirement by the EPA. This is mostly passed on as what you need to know about your drinking source. And so the CCR comes in English, but our Spanish version is put online immediately once we let the letter go out. That goes out once a year. The topic that we always have been hearing about lately because of lead and copper rulings is the lead. And basically, in your CCR that you all should have, once you flip over to the 3rd page, it looks like, you'll find lead at the bottom of inorganic contaminants. And just to talk about the headings of what these are, the MCLG, the maximum contaminant level goal, is 0, obviously. We'd love to have 0. But the allowable levels is 15 parts per billion. That's a hard number to think about, 15 parts per billion. I had to look it up myself, but a good example was 1 second in 32 years. So that's parts per billion. So that's the allowed level that the EPA lets us have, or the action level, I apologize, action levels. Our water is at 2 parts per billion. So if you can think about that, 1 second in 32 years, that's how low of a level contaminant it is. And mostly, and it gives a typical source, which is corrosion of household plumbing, pretty typical, and erosion of natural deposits. So lead is a natural mineral in our world right now, and so you can pick up a little bit of it in your drinking water source because we pull from the ground. So you grab a large amount of dirt, you'll find some lead in every piece of dirt you grab. So just to let you know that, like I said, our water has 2 parts per billion. So once again, think about the amount of time that I just specified in time. It's 1 second in 32 years. So that's a big number, or a little piece in a large amount of time. So this is the same thing. So it's a very small number in a large amount of water. So like I said, the CCR comes out around July. We have to have it done by the end of June. We will have ours done for 2025 by the end of June, and then it'll be put out for all our residents that are taking our water. Every other water system in the valley here has to do the same thing as we're doing. I think they don't go as far as what we do. You're only required to advertise it, so you can advertise it online on your website. You don't have to mail them out, but we mail them out to everybody. And so we do a good job of outreach and letting our consumers know what is in their drinking water. We have a whole list of other items in here as well. As you can see, we don't have any exceedances on our allowable limits, which is a good thing. We maintain our water system very closely and with very high standards. So we do know we have our own water quality lab. However, when these are put together, we take information that goes to the state, and then we pull the information off of their website, and that's based on our samples that we sent them. They did the sampling or the testing, and then we pull the information. So it's a kind of a third party. So I stand for any questions that you may have in regards to the CCR.
Just real quick, Carl, could you again specify what the CCR is?
Yes, Consumer Confidence Report.
Correct. That's just for the public.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, we have the report.
EPA requirement, yes.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Matisse, you had a question?
Carl, kind of a simple question I had. I sent it over, I think, to the director. In some of these homes that have been highlighted, you know, we've had some questions about different homes having the galvanized, the old pipes. Has their water been individually tested? I know they're private homes, but have they been tested by your department? Where there's mention of specific homes?
Yeah, Mayor, Councilor Matisse. So I can't state which ones you're talking about. I'm not sure what address it is, but when we do the sampling, it is from the home. So that sample is then sent to the state lab, and then they test it. So to say, have we done every home that you're talking about? I'm not sure what houses or what homes you're talking about, what the address is. So I couldn't tell you. And then even if you spouted off an address, I'd have to go back to records to see.
Okay. And the reason I bring this up, because of some of the comments, I've had some residents be concerned with, of course, the quality of the water.
Correct.
And so if I give you specific addresses, you can do that for me? You could sample those? Would that be?
Yeah, Mayor, Councilor Matisse, if you gave me the addresses, we can look into that and see if that one has been specifically sampled. We sample so many throughout the city in the different zones or the different water systems we have. I believe we have 5, so we have to pull samples out of every 5, and there's just random samples inside that in each one. And then those get sent out to lab.
As far as specific addresses, you would do that?
I'd have to go back and look at the records as to where they were pulled from.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, sir. Also, the CCR, the Consumer Conference Report, got started about 26 years ago, and we've been meeting our requirements ever since then, and we haven't had any actionable limits that I know about. And I've been with the city since 2003.
Okay, thank you,
You're welcome. Thank you.
Carl. Next on the agenda is Jobs of the Week. Is Sarah Rainey?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My name is Sarah Rainey. I'm the one-stop coordinator for the Southwest region of America's Job Center, New Mexico. For Jobs of the Week, we have a codes enforcement officer for the city, starting at 2224, and that posting closes on the 30th. We have a utility services worker 1 for the city, starting at 1807 an hour, and the posting closes on the 23rd. We have a broadband sales account executive for Pinnacle Institute. That one closes on the 6th of March. A general maintenance worker at Wismer through Tresco. So the job is through Tresco, and the placement is going to be at White Sands Missile Range, starting at $18.13 an hour, and the job posting closes in March. An administrative director for Global Construction LLC, starting at $45,000, closing on the 1st of March. And then a call center representative started at La Clínica de Familia for $15.35 an hour and closing on the 27th. And then just for one last time, because we are not going to continue our presentations here, I do want to point out that we are still looking for volunteers for the Mocatellia Rocket. That's going to be at the end of March. As of right now, I have 21 volunteers. Last year, we had 75 volunteer interviewers, and it was not near enough. We could use hundreds more, honestly. We're serving all of our juniors and seniors across Doña Ana County. So that's Gadsden, that's all 4 high schools here, the private schools as well, the charter schools. So please, anyone sign up, go to Employ NM, and you can click on our events tab, and it'll send you all the way through the volunteer registration. So that's definitely needed. And then just a note that just because we're not going to be here presenting weekly, we have jobs that are posted daily. Please come check out our site, employnm.com. You can find out more information about all of the programs and partners that we have here in the Southwest, not only Doña Ana County, but across the Southwest, as well as the jobs that are there daily. So if you're looking, want to change, want guidance, any of that, please come see us. But we thank you for your time.
Now, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for all that you've done, and we'll try to get some volunteers for the interviews.
Yeah, come sign up. We do have a couple of the council members that have signed up already, so I do appreciate it.
Okay, sounds
Awesome.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Pets of the Week. Carol.
Good afternoon. I'm Carol Nelson, Digital Content Specialist with the Animal Services Center of the Mesilla Valley. This week, our dog of the week is Zorro, 93656, to look him up on our website. I'm a big, goofy puppy who's been hanging out at ASCMV for about 9 months now. I adore people and soak up any attention I can get. I've still got a bit of puppy energy just needing to be channeled, and I can't really do that here at the shelter. I really need a home where I can run, play, and learn the ropes of doggy life. Right now, I get super excited, especially when treats come into play. With a little guidance and patience, I know I can learn to be a good companion. If you have room in your heart for a big puppy with a goofy spirit, I'd love to meet you. And this week, for the first time, we have actually highlighted guinea pigs for our Pets of the Week, and they actually already got adopted, so we're super excited for them, because a lot of times they don't get exposure, so happy for them. And as always, we like highlighting our long-term residents because it's important they get out as soon as possible, because the longer animals stay in shelter, it is harder for them to thrive, and they risk euthanasia. So we would love for our long-term residents to find homes. Hulu has been with us 380 days. Farah has been with us 335 days. Maddie was actually adopted after 280 days at ASCMV, so we're celebrating that. And Lily has been with us 293 days. So all three of those dogs that are still with us are really good options for adoption as well. And to highlight some of our upcoming events, this Saturday we will be at Petco from 10 to 1, and then this Sunday is actually one of our bigger events, our drive-through vaccination clinic. So come on out for free and low-cost vaccinations. We'll be there from 9 to 1 at the Field of Dreams parking lot, so bring your animals because we would love more pet safety in the community. And as always, feel free to follow us on social media or visit our website for more information. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Next is a conflict of interest. Does any member of City Council, City Manager, or any member of the city staff have any known conflict of interest with any item on the agenda?
None.
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 No conflict.
Next is public participation. We'll allow up to 3 minutes, no pending litigation or items on the non-consent. Please state your name and speak directly into the microphone, and Katrina will assist you in coming to the podium.
Mayor, Council, those here today, those watching online, I'm Lynn Moorer. I have new analysis related to the city's non-compliance with the lead and copper rule and its failure to carry out its promises when applying for $15 million in funding. As you recall, the amount of funding to be repaid relates to how disadvantaged the population is. The census tract information the city uses to determine whether a neighborhood is disadvantaged is flawed. I'll illustrate this regarding two neighborhoods with which I'm familiar. The city has designated Cedardale Loop, not far from where I live on Mondale Loop, as disadvantaged. Cedardale has higher property valuations than Mondale, yet Cedardale is disadvantaged and Mondale isn't. Cedardale has 54 properties on it. 42 have an estimated value of $300,000 or higher. As handout 1 indicates, the median estimated value for all properties on Cedardale is $326,000. By contrast, Mondale has 41 properties on it. Only 2 have an estimated value of $300,000 or higher. See handout 2. The median estimated value for all properties on Mondale is $276,000, $50,000 lower than Cedardale. Setting aside whether an 80% cutoff for the area median income the city uses is appropriate, which is actually insupportable, the data are inaccurate. The maps are not trustworthy. It's obvious that the median income for the folks living on Cedardale is manifestly higher than the median income for folks living on Mondale. Nevertheless, Cedardale is classified as disadvantaged while Mondale isn't. A house 2 doors away from mine on Mondale Loop was, until recently, used as temporary Section 8 housing for low-income people. Thus, our lovely Mondale Loop neighborhood is unwealthy enough to be selected for such a house. But we're not categorized as disadvantaged, nor should we be. I'll say it again, Mondale should not be designated disadvantaged. More importantly, neither should Cedardale with its $50,000 higher median house valuation. When walking around Cedardale with my dog, in addition to admiring their nice houses and yards, we see the vehicles parked in their driveways. My dog would especially like to admire some of those vehicles up close. We've seen 2 or 3 Teslas, a couple of Lexus cars, and a Porsche. All these folks on Cedardale are likely good people. I know a couple of them. In no sense, though, are they disadvantaged. The point is the census tracts the city is relying upon are inaccurate and filled with obvious errors. This means the city must rectify its analysis and give a more discerning look at the properties in each neighborhood before pronouncing any of them disadvantaged. The disparities between Cedardale and Mondale Loop are relatively small compared to many other neighborhoods we've found. We'll delineate some of those injustices for you at future meetings. Thank you for this opportunity to speak.
Mayor, City Council, I'm Liz Rodriguez Johnson. It continues to be extremely disappointing that Las Cruces Utilities is failing to comply with the federal lead and copper rule, which requires that disadvantaged neighborhoods be prioritized for pipe inspection and lead pipe removal if lead is found. Today, we continue our efforts to stand up for the disadvantaged in our community, the ones who genuinely struggle and need help. We're endeavoring to help Las Cruces Utilities focus and actually inspect first the genuinely disadvantaged folks whose properties valuations are on the lowest end of the scale here in the city. Research indicates that property valuations should be considered when determining whether a neighborhood is disadvantaged. I don't think anyone can make a straight-faced argument that someone owning and living in a $300,000 house is disadvantaged. We're sharing our research to assist the city to do the right thing. Las Cruces Utilities should work on the following. First, remove from the disadvantaged list all properties with high estimated valuations on the street. We've recently described that are plainly not actually disadvantaged and whose designations are clearly based on incorrect data. Silverado Loop, Cortavela, and Cedardale Loop. There are many more high-value properties that should also have no place on the disadvantaged list. But these 3 streets are a good place to start. Second, for the time being, conduct inspections, investigations only at genuinely disadvantaged properties, absent an overriding reason. Handout A is comprised of 10 properties with valuation estimates less than $100,000. Handout B is a partial list of properties with estimated valuations of less than $200,000 organized by street. It has 42 properties listed, which matches the number of inspections utilities personnel conducted the first week of November 2025. We're passing these along to the utilities department so we can get to work right away, helping the truly disadvantaged. Third, at long last, include in the inventory and on the map all the properties that have been left out, starting with the mobile home communities that show no water hookups whatsoever on the map. Handout C is one example. These are probably the most disadvantaged properties in all of Las Cruces, which Las Cruces Utilities has steadfastly ignored. Credibility is completely absent if the disadvantaged list does not include those mobile home properties, while at the same time including properties valued at $300,000 and higher. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of council. I never really enjoy coming here because I always feel like it's to tell you the things that I feel like you're doing wrong. I wish there were less things that you were doing wrong.
For the record, state your name.
You want to state it for me?
No,
Israel Chavez.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is for Mr. Reyes, so he can look this up later, but I want to make sure that you know that Colonias Development Council versus Rhino Environmental Services is a Supreme Court case in which the government was required to take public comment. Now again, the city went around town and solicited public comment of members of the public, and I showed up to that. And the city seems to have decided that it's going to completely ignore that public comment. It's going to do an entirely new list of things it decided to do with the money that it is basically stolen from the public in the increase in gross receipts. The proposed training center that you all want to do didn't even make the top 10. And all of the things that the public came out and asked for is not being prioritized. The city has to prioritize those things. So I'm coming to request you do that, but I'm also coming to warn you that if you don't, I have nothing better to do than make your lives very difficult legally. And I'm sure I can find members of the public who will speak later who would like to hold the city accountable for not recognizing the public input that was put into those sessions. And so just to take a little bit from that case, that New Mexico governments, when they are required to take public comment, should closely consider that information, and I quote from the case, relating to the community's quality of life. That's what you asked for in your public comments. That's directly from the Rhino Services case. The community should always be afforded a reasonable opportunity to provide its input in projects, and, as was required in the Rhino Environmental Services case, quote, that the community be given a voice and the concerns of the community be considered in the final decision-making. It appears to me that the city has decided to bypass final decision-making. It is required to take that public comment, and if it does not, then there will be consequences and accountability, because it appears to me that the legislative branch of this government is unwilling to hold accountable the, in my view, feckless and somewhat useless executive branch of the city. And if the council won't do it, the council won't hold its executive branch to account because either it is unable or unwilling, then the public will. We have the means. Just because your third branch of government is a municipal court that you've sort of shunted off to upstairs doesn't mean that we can't use district court. And it would be my view that if the city continues to ignore the public, then the public will take those actions needed. You can chew your lip all you want, Mayor. You have to listen to me, and I hope you will.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name is Mary Ann Hendrickson. I'm a citizen of District 3. Almost exactly 20 years ago, I moved here following 26 years of service in the United States Navy. Almost instantly, I was embraced by my community. My neighbors brought me cookies, food, anything I needed, helped me with information. I was wrapped in cariño from the first day I walked here. However, I was surprised to recently learn that in early November of 2024, the city manager signed direction for a new public-facing equal opportunity statement. And public mention, that added TTY, which I think is great, yet it removed public mention of the following protected classes: color, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, and religion. I've communicated with the HR department for almost a month and never gotten an answer to why the city removed those groups of protected classes and yet not others. What criteria was used to select those? So with the change in statement, the city has negated the contributions of me, my family members, friends, neighbors, probably the majority of the city. what I'm asking from the city is fairly simple and easy to do. I'm asking the mayor and council direct the city manager to restore the previous listed protected classes and keep the TTY statement. Let's restore the much needed cariño to our city. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. Donna Stryker. The GRT was discussed at length. I was at most of those meetings. I also went to the meetings that the city held throughout the city, and I saw a lot of interesting things that happened at there. I saw a lot of people that were not from those districts, and they went to every single meeting. And in my opinion, my humble opinion, that was to sway what the gentleman previously stated as public input. The GRT discussed at council, the GRT discussed at work sessions last year. What was that money to be used for? And there was not one time that it was one single recipient. It was several different recipients. The chief did a very good job of addressing and presenting on an academy that would not only benefit this city, but would also benefit other agencies, law enforcement agencies, and also help attract candidates. I don't remember hearing or seeing and watching in council, especially work session of a week ago, that all the money was going to go to one place. Perhaps I'm blind, deaf, and dumb, but I did not see that, so I apologize if I missed it somehow. I would like to ask the council to continue considering recipients for the GRT, one of which I would like to see an academy. I think that our community deserves it. I think candidates deserve it. And if any of you have actually seen what the academy looked like, you would not let your dog probably live there. I would also like to address something that has been weighing heavy on my mind. I am 70 years old, and I have never come to council and sworn or clicked my fingers or snapped or been disrespectful, degrading, threatening, or slanderous towards anyone. I also have never had disruptive remarks or gestures or noises from myself or the people that I am working with. We tend to act like adults. And I remember hearing one person say, well, if the president can swear, what are you, 12? Do you really need to act inappropriately because someone else did? This isn't high school. These are adults. These are professionals, and these are politicians. And I expect and I deserve to be treated kindly and respectfully by the audience as much as my council people deserve and should expect to be treated appropriately. I am really glad I'm not hearing any clicking or snapping, because it only indicates your lack of intelligence, as does swearing, because you have nothing better to say than bad words. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jose Carrera. I'm not a good public speaker. I apologize. Bear with me. I'm the president of Precision Technology. I moved to Las Cruces about 30 years ago. I came to visit a friend. I fell in love with this town, so I decided to start my business here. Okay, I started this business at a friend's garage. The business I'm in, I supply products to the automotive industry, and I export 100% of what I manufacture all over the world. Okay. I employ between 30 and 50 employees. In the past 25 years, I have sold over $75 million worth of product. In the past 25 years, I've generated over $40 million worth of payroll, which of course everybody benefits for that, especially because this is money that's coming from outside the country. I've never taken any special programs where I'm being financially assisted, none of that. So this is strictly money that's from outside the country coming back to the country. I've been involved with NMSU, helping programs, working with them, hired engineers from NMSU. I've been recognized by you guys as a very important manufacturing facility. The reason I'm speaking is because I have heard some very negative comments about our police force, specifically about Chief of Police Story. And it really bothers me because out of the 50 employees that I have, basically, it has a repercussion of about 200 to 250 people. So anything in this town that happens, I get affected by it with a multiplication of 250 times. It's not like some people that complain, it turns out that they just have a problem with Chief of Police or something insignificant like that, okay? So to me, what our first responders do is that with that many amount of employees, I have problems. I have situations where I need them. Every single time that I have called our police officers to come in, they show up instantly and they are only assisting me. We need to appreciate what they do for us 100%. I wish I had more time. Sorry. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Elaine Prickett, and I'm with Rio Grande Honor Flight. And I wanted to come and share with the council today some of what we do. We're a 501(c)(3) nonprofit organization, and I know Councilman Matisse is familiar with us, Chief Daniels is familiar with what we do, and Mayor Enriquez. Honor Fly is an organization that takes World War II Korean and Vietnam veterans to Washington, D.C. to see the memorials that were built in their honor. Many of these veterans will not have the opportunity due to financial and physical needs. But that is not our goal, is to give them a tour. Our goal is to bring closure and healing. One of the vets, after being on this trip, I'm gonna try not to cry, told me, I feel like I'm part of American society again. And in America, we should never have a veteran feel that way. And so that is our goal, to try to change that. Many of our veterans find closure and healing on this trip, and many of them have even had their Honor Flight mission engraved on their columbarium because it meant so much to them. Families have said that they are changed, and we are changing families as well when we take them on this trip. Some of the things that we need help with, of course, is sustaining financial support, and we also need help with volunteers. All of our veterans are taken to Washington, D.C., have a guardian. Guardian pays their own way of $1,200, and so does the crew. We pay our own way. The veteran goes absolutely free on this 3-day trip to Washington. The guardian is there to push the wheelchair, carry their oxygen concentrator, help them in any way that they need. If they need help in the room, getting to the bathroom, we find guardians that are willing to do that. That is part of our mission, to take care of them. One of the big things that we're trying to do that's been a goal of mine that I have a dream of is having a welcome home for our veterans. Many of these veterans never got the welcome home they deserved. They were spit on, had feces balloons thrown at them, and urinated on. That is not the way our warriors should be treated. We would like Honor Fly in Las Cruces to become a household name, that every year everybody is saying, when is the Honor Flight going out, and when are we going to line the streets to welcome them home? One veteran said, Elaine, all I ever wanted to hear was those 2 little words, welcome home. So what I'm asking for today is an opportunity to come back and do a formal presentation to this group so we can determine how the city of Las Cruces may be able to help bring these veterans home. One veteran, the night of the banquet, came up to me in tears and he said, "I feel like a Mack truck has been lifted from my chest and I can finally breathe again. I have not been able to breathe since I came home from Vietnam." Thank you. Is it okay if I give you guys a pin? A pin? Can I give? Okay.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Master Sergeant Perry Ashby, United States Air Force, retired. I'm one of those veterans she was talking about. They called us Yellow Jackets for some reason. I haven't figured that out yet. But I was an 18-year-old child when I went to Vietnam. I enlisted when I was 17. I went to Vietnam, and I thought, hey, this is going to be an exotic adventure, but it was far more than that. We worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for 353 days in a row, and I work in a photo reconnaissance outfit, and body counts were a big deal back in those days, and my job was to blow up the pictures so they can count the pieces parts and add up their body counts for the day. But I had to see and experience death up close on a real way that I had never even experienced. I came from Anaheim, California, Disneyland. I was just a kid when I went there. And I got to see more death and destruction and just inhumane things that a child should never have to see. If anybody ever goes to Washington, D.C., they have a monument there, and the biggest number of people on that monument, 33,000 people they died when they were 18 years old over there, out of 53,000 people. So I came back from Vietnam, and like she said, there was no welcome home, there was no big surprise, there was no nothing. I was just told, don't wear my uniform off the base, keep your head down, and don't brag about what you've been doing. And I lived with that I spent 20 years, 3 months, and 14 days in the Air Force, but who was counting? And then after that, I got a job with Northrop Grumman on the B-2 stealth bomber and the F-35 aircraft. And I also worked there for another 20 years. But I still had this nightmares every night, afraid to go to sleep because that's when the bad guys came out. I've been in treatment for 15 years, and then I heard about this thing called Honor Flight. Hey, free trip to D.C., I'm for it. And we got there, and it was much more of not an adventure or a tourist site, but when we got to the Vietnam Memorial, I can't go down there. There's a lot of ghosts down there that I'm still afraid of. This is the reason I can't sleep at night. And they have this little song that they sing about welcome home, and then each one of the staff members would come up and give you a hug and tell you welcome home. It took 52 years for somebody just to come up and give me a hug and say welcome home. And those words meant a lot. And out of those 15 years of counseling I've gone to, that one weekend, just like I say, lifted a big load off my chest. I came back and I told Miss Elaine that anything you need to have done, I'm willing to do, whatever it is. And I've been a volunteer. I'm on the board of directors now, and we thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. My name is Steve Montañez. I want to use just a few seconds of my time to tell the public and this council that if you have never had an opportunity to attend a welcome home ceremony at the airport or here in town, I highly recommend you do it. It is absolutely life-changing. These veterans, Elaine, and the work that she does, they changed my life. And I will tell you, it is one of the most life-changing experiences, and you will never forget it. What I want to talk a little bit about today, and what you're going to hear a lot of later today, it's definitely going to come from a very well-organized group. A very well-organized group that just yesterday crashed a conservative group at the NMSU campus, crashed a Border Patrol recruitment booth at a job fair, and caused quite the scene at Doña Ana County when they didn't get their way. These special interests have received their share of funding. It's now time to look at other concepts that our city desperately needs, especially regarding public safety. I'll state for the record, Chief Story, I've never met you. We've met before. I've never actually sat down with either of them. So there's no real influence here other than what I've seen and what I've observed. I know that, again, this is just coming from my observations. I did a little bit of research on the 2025 legislative priorities, that our city lobbyists are up in Santa Fe working for. That includes, again, renovation of the Brannigan Library, legacy parks, line parks, a local solar access fund, Museum of Nature and Science redesign. These are all great priorities. They really are. In 2024, funded. A lot of these were included what I just mentioned, especially regarding Brannigan and a lot of public parks. There was no mention in 2024 of police or public safety in 2024 or 2025. Other expenditures, $60 million, downtown alone. Pickleball courts, again, Brannigan, regardless where it's coming from. EV charging stations, the Amador. We can talk about expenditures to 808 Productions to film Las Cruces. The list can go on and on regarding what these special interests have asked for and what they've received. And I will say that I'm also grateful for. In some cases, I may not agree, but I'm grateful for. So I'm here just to tell you, just to advise, stand your ground when it comes to public safety. Stand your ground when it comes to the public interests, of our citizens. And quite often, if you ask them, is it public safety or is it what's on this list that I just read? Many of you will say it's public safety. I do appreciate you taking the time to listen to all sides. I will stay respectful. Again, when they don't get their way, this is how they behave. Just be ready for it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, City Council. My name's Eddie Thomas. I'm here to let you know that I am vehemently opposed to the Councilor Bencomo staying on the council. I respectfully ask for her resignation. She is heading up a group, and it's probably the reason she's not here. She's in Santa Fe, I believe, heading up a group that is a group of trial lawyers that are against SB 99, which is, you all know, the medical malpractice reform bill. Okay, my 87-year-old mother lives with me. Okay. Thank God she's in great health, but she's got doctors here, okay? It seems that Councilor Bencomo's efforts we're chasing the doctors away from the state of New Mexico, okay? Pretty soon we're not going to have any doctors to go to. Luckily, we only live 40 miles away from El Paso, where we can find doctors if so needed. But that goes against everything I stand. Another issue that I have with her is she seems to either openly or behind the scenes oppose everything that Chief Story has stood for. Luckily, we won in several cases, one of them being the shopping cart ordinance that was passed. Another thing that goes against me is the abortion facility that was recently defeated. I don't know if you all noticed, but there is a lot of Catholic churches in this area, okay? Last time I checked, the Pope is pro-life, all right? And so I believe that she is not with the people. She's not, she's tone deaf. She's not listening to her constituents. And so I was very gladdened by the fact that none of the concrete contractors bid on that project, and the abortion facility was defeated. So I seem to find myself at odds with everything that she stands for. She's mostly pushing her radical leftist liberal agenda here, and I totally oppose it, and so I respectfully ask for her resignation. Thank you.
Mayor, Council, Juan Garcia. At the February 2 council meeting, the attorney for 828 stated he was limited to 5 minutes and not allowed a presentation, while the city took nearly 24 minutes, including a full presentation. There were contractual issues, I got it, but why was 828's request denied when the city faced no such restrictions? This inconsistency raises questions about transparency. Citizens deserve to hear both sides. The council owes the public an explanation. Additionally, in paraphrasing the 828 CEO's comments, in just 18 to 24 months, LCPD was called over 100 times. One employee was even chased by someone wielding a machete. It's no wonder many of our properties are too dangerous to develop. The bowling alley, for example, is impossible to keep secure. Every time we show it, and to an actor, producer, or director, we worry about running into an illegal camper. At this point, a counselor cut in. I knew where this was going, she stated. In other words, the elephant in the room. The city's crime problem was becoming impossible to ignore, and the CEO's comments were making that obvious. So rather than address the crime issue and the impact of this business, the blame shifted. Who interrupted? The same counselor who once said, and I quote, "I have little sympathy for Walmart and their stolen property." That says everything about support for Las Cruces businesses. And I continue. The latest scandal resembling ballot stuffing is troubling. In a recent New Mexico in-depth article, Representative Sarah Silva reported getting a barrage of emails from supposed constituents opposing medical malpractice reform. The odd part? At least 5 people told her they never sent the messages. Another lawmaker got a pile of 50 printed emails. She called every name and not a single person said they'd sent one. Silva said Naomi Valdez, a lobbyist for New Mexico Safety Over Profit, confirmed the email she received came from the group, which has opposed malpractice reform. New Mexico Safety Over Profit is at it again. This is a dark money group run by trial lawyer allies who oppose reform, and their executive director is right here on this council. Councilor Bacomo, who once sat in these chambers and lied about a local resident doxing council members, is the one running this group. I will not be threatening or rude like a previous speaker was, but I ask the councilor, do the right thing. Please, please resign. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Yes, you requested 4 minutes? Okay, it's granted.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, councilors, everyone. My name is Yoli Diaz. I have continued to send you emails to keep you informed of present and past issues that affects the present. I've provided solutions. Problems in accessing healthcare at Memorial Medical Center were exacerbated per IPRA documents from Doña Ana County and from Memorial Medical Center to Doña Ana County in year 2014, when MMC CEO John Harrison forced an aggressive and immediate expense reduction and revenue enhancement, which defines the opposite of quality patient care. In year 2015, by MMC updating their chat policy and discriminated against a group of Doñana County residents by following the current Memorial Medical Center upfront cash collection policy, and as a last resort, collect the Medicare reasonable and customary fee upfront before services are provided. And in year 2016, by MMC updating the chat policy again by removing cancer care, regardless of cancer, being included in the asset purchase agreement. You may recall my recent email request to MMC CEO Dennis Knox. He doesn't answer all of my questions, but he does provide a bogus financial assistance policy. I let him know that he is required to post an annual report required by New Mexico statute, the Patients Debt Collection Protection Act, which was enacted effective July 1, 2021. MMC CEO Dennis Knox notified me of the website changes January 29, 2025. MMC adds the statute required annual report. However, MMC leaves out the most pertinent section, indigent care data. Was this accidental? Was this willful concealment? Being that MMC CEO Dennis Knox did not provide the details of my requested data, I believe it's willful concealment. I know MMC violated New Mexico law when they did not have their annual report on their website for 4 years. Fiscal year 2024 being incomplete may still violate New Mexico law. As MMCs have lesser, please don't allow them to violate New Mexico statutes. By April, I requested the annual reports from the state. MMC's fiscal year 2024 report shows 110 indigent claims. Fiscal year 2023, 103 indigent claims. Fiscal year 2022, 127 indigent patients, and fiscal year 2021, 133 indigent patients. These numbers are per year and seem extremely low for a low-income and high uninsured county. Let's compare other hospitals' annual indigent claims and patients for fiscal year 2024. Mountain View, right here in Las Cruces, that has less than Memorial Medical Center beds of 199 with 168, has 4,152 indigent claims. Presbyterian Santa Fe, 3,665. Lincoln County Medical Center in Ruidoso, 2,235. Plains Regional in Clovis, 4,041. Socorro General, 1,250. That's a population of 16,000 with 24 beds. Mimbres Memorial, our neighbors, in Deming, 1,310. So I really hope that you understand when I say terminate LifePoint and bring in an operator that really cares about quality patient care to all Doñana County residents. Thank you. I have 11 seconds left.
Hello, Mayor, Council. My name is Trent Christopher. I am from here. I work here. I work at Memorial Medical Center. I want to open by saying that we are all living in the same city. We are all seeing the same thing. I mentioned that I live here not for sentimental reasons, but just so that you know that I've seen the development of the city over the past 20 years, the same as anyone else has. We are seeing the poverty, we are seeing the crime, and as a result of that, I was happy that the city came to the people and held votes all over town, determining how the GRT money would be used. I attended in my district. I promise I just attended in my district. I don't think that election got stolen. And unfortunately, it seems like the priorities there have been largely ignored. There was, at least when I went, absolutely no stickers on the LCPD side of the board. People are wanting, almost overwhelmingly wanting improvements to the library, improvements to water infrastructure, improvements to the roads, community programs for the youth. I believe that this is the this is the priority of the people right now, is to take actions against crime that are other than policing. LCPD received $38 million of the budget in fiscal year 2025. This is by far the largest share of the budget that LCPD received. They haven't lost money ever. They're every year getting more and more money. I think we should use the money from the GRT increase for what the people asked for. That seems simple. Anything other than that is circumventing the democratic process that you did. If we don't give the people what they clearly asked for, then I would ask the council next time, don't bother asking. Thank you.
Hello, Lindley Hornsby for the record, here to comment on the priorities that our community shared with you all for our GRT, this shared resource to improve our city. And we saw priorities such as libraries, rec centers, water infrastructure support, road maintenance, restoration of the WIA building, more support for senior centers and affordable housing. And the common thread between a lot of those is the community is asking to use our shared resources for more third spaces. Third spaces are community spaces outside of work, school, and home. I think some of what we saw in the data from the community feedback is that the community loves our City of Las Cruces libraries, parks, and trails, and the public voted for more of those for our growing city. Not funding for more police training. There was some support for repair of the fire station, but that doesn't necessarily have to relate to a public safety police training center. Police and fire can be separate, though they're often allied. The community certainly doesn't see it that way. We need more third spaces that will benefit all of the community, and especially youth in our community who say that there's not enough safe spaces for youth in our community. Youth continue to be scapegoated and criminalized in our community, and we need more spaces for youth, not incarceration. So really just encouraging this council to look closely at the data. The stickers were great, like community enjoyed participating that way. It's really clear to see what we're prioritizing here. And it's, I believe the public safety training facility didn't make the top 10, right? So that's significant. So if that training facility comes up as a high priority in the budget that this council approves, that means it's not coming from the community, it's coming from somewhere else. And our community is active and here today watching and really wanting to see you all make decisions that reflect what we want to see in our community, the resources that we are bringing together in our increased taxes. Thank you.
My name's Guillermo Canaway, here from Las Cruces and all that. I did want to continue with what was said. I did want to pull up the specific information of what were the top 10 most voted things our community wanted. And amongst that is water treatment, our spaces, our rec centers, and all of these places that we are part of. And security is only barely making the top of the list, primarily in maintaining the things that are already there, primarily vehicles and maintenance, including for the fire station. But it seems for a great majority of people, the care is to make spaces to be in and to exist in this town. I would like to see more people outside and about and being part of these spaces. We're lucky we have some of the parks we have, some of the few spaces, heck, even New Mexico State University in a way. But we still need reasons to be outside. We still need reasons to be part of these communities. And having safe places where we feel like we can all come to, and there's always eyes around us, not of security or police, but of other people around us. One of the big concepts for keeping a safe city is to have it walkable and having eyes on the street. The more places we have to go and more places we can come together, the more eyes we have on our spaces. We had an example brought up of a space that they couldn't even work on that was an abandoned space because it was the only place those people could go. But if we have more spaces, more places where more people are at, we don't have to worry quite as much about the security. I do ask we focus on making places to, in some place, secure, then work on making more security for the few places we have. I think we need places to exist, to be a community, to be a place as a whole. And we already have stuff we still need to take care of. The library, the rec centers, we still need more, and we still have to do better with the places we do have. So I hope you guys will reconsider your decision into making this facility for the future. Thank you.
Can you hear me? Hello, Mayor, Council. My name is Gabriel Bisis. I want to take this opportunity to, number one, thank you for this forum and this venue. This is the very foundation that the American Constitutional Republic is built on. And this opportunity is critical both for our community and for the grassroots movement that keeps American way of life viable. So thank you. I primarily want to start with a statement of support. Number one, to Chief Story and the Las Cruces Police Department, especially in the face of an environment that is not always supportive, often openly oppositional. These are not individuals who come from somewhere removed, right? They're our neighbors. They're our brothers and our sisters. They're individuals who shop at the same places we do, go to church at the same places we do. Their children attend the same schools ours. So I think a big part of what we need to do is we need to take a step back and reassess this narrative that we've built of us versus them. We are a community. We're one community. We're one people. We have to be in this together. Additionally, I'd like to talk about the funding difference between the GRT and the GO bond. The GRT is very specifically approved largely for public safety, whereas the GO bond is general obligation funds that can be used for anything deemed necessary in the county, right? It's very important that we keep that delineation very clear. Funds that are obligated for public safety need to be used for public safety. The GRT proposal to build an improved facility, both for the fire department and for the police office, is not an ambiguous request for funds. It is very well articulated and very well planned. Number one, it'll increase public safety by providing better training and better skills and better capability for our officers. This creates a safer environment for everyone. Number two, Chief Story talked about making this facility open to the public for recreation. That's a big morale boost, right? It also creates a safer environment to prevent some of the illegal activity that does make some of these different racing environments a little less safe. And number three, he talked about opening this up to film or for other agencies who would pay to use that facility, thus bringing in income to the city. So right now we find ourselves in an environment that almost everyone here who's spoken has agreed is unaffordable, unsafe, and unfree. Let's fix that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council. My name is Lucas Hernan, for the record. I attended last week's work session and was surprised. I was surprised to see the staff presentation indicating what the city's priorities were based on GRT spending, because I attended most of those public meetings that the city held last year, and I attended the meetings before that where the community came and asked the city to hold those meetings, because up until that point, it wasn't clear exactly how the process was going to go for the way the city was going to expend those funds. And I attended the council meetings after those public meetings where staff presented the data in a raw form, albeit a troubling form by clever use of statistics. So I was surprised. I was surprised last week to come and see the priorities listed out by staff, not reflective of the community's desires based on those community meetings or the staff's initial presentation last fall. And so I am here today to follow through on that and to re-up my commitment to remain vigilant and engaged, as many of us are. It is ironic to be insinuated that I am somehow a part of something more organized than the people who are literally wearing little name badges on their shirts for their club that they meet every Thursday at Kitchen Craft on Telshore, just in case we want to talk about groups of people who are organized. This community continues to show up and show out for each other. We keep us safe. And shared spaces are part of that. Arguably, one of the most beautiful things in Las Cruces is the farmers market. It was when I was a kid, and we still had we didn't have the main street back through town. It was covered. We had those brick planters. It was still a public space, and it was in its own way wonderful. It's better now. Change can happen, and we can make things better. Change doesn't mean things are bad. I know that I often have a particular agenda that I come up here with, and while I think there are a lot of things to be said about that right now, I mostly want you to listen. I want you to listen to the calls of this community, the calls that you went and sought and have the data to respond to, that we want parks and rec centers and safer roads and cleaner water. And those are beautiful things, and we can support those. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Spencer Taylor. I'm from District 2. I'm a former NMSU professor and currently in my final semester of Master of Social Work. I'm also here to speak on the issue of the GRT funds. So the first thing is we need to listen to the community. I think it's been said many times in many different ways. I think we understand the community wants resources, especially at a time when some of our higher levels of government, like the federal government, are taking resources away from us. It's really important that in our local levels, we get some of the resources back on our investment. And these types of resources we were looking for proactive resources. We're looking for things that give us access to third space, like we've said. We're also looking for parks and rec resources, improved water, things that the community sees directly. And then I think it's really important that we let go of this narrative of police equals safety. Police may be a part of what we put out for safety, but a lot of data shows that police don't inherently equal safety. Increased funding for police, increased training for police don't inherently equal safety. Actually, the resources that we're all calling for are the things that increase safety, decrease crime. When people have opportunities to engage in healthy ways, engage in ways that are creative, engage in ways that are connective to each other in the community, then you see decrease in crime. Then you see increase in safety. Because in situations like that, you are essentially being proactive and you're not reacting, right? You have situations where community members are building connections with each other. It's not as if people who commit crime just wake up one day and go, I want to commit crime because I just feel like doing bad things. Usually it's out of desperation. Usually it's out of a situation where you're lacking something, lacking connection to your community, lacking positive outlets, lacking basic resources, healthcare, resources for food, access to food, right? So these things are where we can really get to addressing improvements in our community in terms of safety, in terms of connection, and in terms of health. And I think the community has spoken pretty clearly on that and how we would like our investments to be in those places. So I'm here to ask you all to follow through on that, please. Thank you.
Can you hear me? All right. Hello, City Council. I'm Rose. I live in District 2, and I'm a lifelong resident here in Las Cruces. And yeah, I'm also here today to speak about the GRT fund priorities the community wanted in fall of 2025, which were, like what was mentioned, libraries, parks, rec centers, and essential public infrastructure, maintenance, and amenities. There has been a shift to what is prioritized, and these are things that was not in our demands, like police training facility, which funding for police wasn't even in the top 10. The only funding that was on the list for police was fleet maintenance. The community has spoken, and we want to invest in things that better the quality of life for everyone in every stage of life. And since there has been an ongoing concern of youth in our community, investments in spaces like parks, rec centers, libraries, and skate parks, which the completion of that is long overdue. Things our youth deserve to have them grow and develop into well-rounded adults in our community. And personally, if I ever decide to have a kid, I would want them to live in a city that invests in public spaces that fosters positive growth. And lastly, as public officials, it is your duty to follow through with what your constituents have agreed upon. And as your constituents, we will hold accountability. Investing in our community spaces over incarceration is what will make our city great. Thank you.
Hello, Mayor and City Council. My name is Zach Egan, and I am in District 2. I'm also here today to speak on the GRT spending proposal. The City of Las Cruces voted to increase our own taxes in order to improve our community, and last year the City Council asked for public input on how to best allocate that money. The community overwhelmingly spoke to put that money towards public works, building public spaces, improvements to existing public facilities, and youth programming. Last week, the city stated that they would be allocating around $4 million of those funds towards Police Training Center. This goes against what the public voted for, and on several occasions, the public services mentioned have been affirmed by Chief Story as means for reducing crime, especially juvenile crime, in Las Cruces. When our citizens and kids have things to do, it reduces crime. And this is what the city has voted for. We want more things to do. We want more third spaces. I think it is inevitable that the city will allocate funds for a police training center, and I recognize that the need for more police training, especially in de-escalation and nonviolent intervention. I also believe in transparency, accountability, and democracy. So my ask is that you use the GRT money for what the public voted for and find another way to fund the training center. If you want to fund a police training facility and fund it through a tax increase, why not put it on the ballot and let the people vote for what they want? Thank you.
Hello, Council. My name's Dave Wilson, District 2. I'd like to thank you all for your service, especially Bill, who's been doing this for a long time. He's my representative, my council member. I haven't been up here in the 50 years I've lived in Las Cruces very much. Mostly on business. I had a business here, public relations, advertising firm for a number of years. City's been our client. State of New Mexico has been our client. Been involved from Jemez Anthony Casino Project to the monument, representing the farm and ranch community and the monument process. And I just want to tell you guys that I'm very familiar with these public hearing meetings, and I've been a part of them. I've helped organize them from different sides, for Native Americans to ranchers. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to warn you that there are highly organized groups that put together efforts to stack the influence of these meetings. On the Monument Valley, Lucas is involved in that. You know, we had a big public meeting, Secretary of Interior came, and Secretary was to hear public input at the Ramada, capacity 275 people. And Lucas's group bussed in 5 buses, 50 passenger buses, 1 from Silver City, 2 from El Paso, and a couple from Albuquerque. The capacity's 375. 250 people bussed in, okay? So I've run sustainability meetings for the county and been in charge of the communications for that stuff. And there's traveling groups that come. Nobody shows up to these things, and because we're ordered to hold the campaigns after 4th of July, during back to school, when people are at their busiest times. So the general public doesn't show up. So these groups can manipulate and send their emails to groups that are highly organized activists to bias these public events. And I mean, it goes on, and I have seen it for years, guys. So when you hear the helicopters flying people to El Paso in our medical system, but you go over to my house every day, and we used to never hear those helicopters. When you hear that the public is outraged and that we don't have enough doctors, it's because government is failing us. I support our police chief story and what he's trying to do. Your public safety role is number 1. The money needs to go to public safety.
Okay. Sir, thank you.
I'm sorry.
Good afternoon, Dolores Lucero for the record. Mr. Mayor, I owe you an apology. Last year, on March 14th, I sat with you in the back room here and I told you I would never show up to another council meeting because nobody listens and because nothing was getting done. And over this past year, I've had many people approach me and go, Dolores, why did you shut up? Don't let anybody shut you up. The reason you listen to people is because you get involved, and I listen to a lot of people. Sitting here at City Council years ago, there weren't a lot of young people in the chambers. They were working. I don't know where everybody's working these days. That's what you should be working on. Secondly, I'd like to say that there was never 2 seats empty at this council. And when I walked in today, which is totally spontaneous for me today, I was not planned on being here. I am surprised that there are other businesses more important than the citizens of Las Cruces that elected them to be here. In 8 years, I missed 2 meetings, one for my brother's death and one for my mother's death, and that was it. Now, there's things that come up. I understand that. But I think there's reason for absentee today to say, I don't want to listen to the public. I'm going to be 5 years old, and I'm going to put my hands over my ears and shake my head. I don't want to hear you, I don't want to hear you, I don't want to hear you, because I want to throw a tantrum. That's what I see at this council right now over the last year. I see a lot of disrespect. I see a lot of people that don't understand the system. Do I support Chief Story? Of course I do. I worked with 3 different police chiefs, and they were all outstanding. But you know what's outstanding about Las Cruces PD? Is the other officers that he's leading down a track to make this better. We want to talk about parks. What happened to Apodaca Park? Closed down the pool, didn't replace it. We don't have anything there. What happened to Brannigan Park? Donated by Mr. Brannigan. Not there. It's because the city has failed in keeping up with what is happening in Las Cruces. There's no reason to build brand new everything. Think about what you already have and take care of it. But it hasn't been taken care of because there's outside interests here. And it's no longer nonpartisan. For those that don't understand what the city council's role or the city manager's role is, these few things. 1, you're supposed to provide the best fire and police safety. So you know what? That's going to cost a lot. Number 2, you're supposed to provide the best utilities, water, gas, sewer, pick up trash, keep it clean. Number 3, the best roads, because that's how people move. Those are your priorities. Remember that.
Hello, my name is Megan O'Leary, and I am a resident of Las Cruces. As a native New Mexican and former special education teacher for Albuquerque Public Schools, I experienced firsthand the struggles New Mexico has faced in providing quality education, employment, and safety for its residents. Approximately 17% of the population lives in poverty, and student proficiency in reading and math is among the lowest in the country. Therefore, utilizing most city funding to enhance and increase the training and militarization of the Las Cruces Police Department not only ignores the community's priorities and needs, but essentially provides a small Band-Aid solution to a much larger structural wound. There is proof that investing in increased police presence, surveillance, and incarceration rates at the expense of community resources has devastating consequences, including increased polarization, fear, and scapegoating. We should instead focus more funding on assisting community-based resources, including the LIGHT team, which stands for Lessen the Incidence of Grief, Harm, and Trauma. LIGHT is a de-escalation team consisting of firefighter, paramedics, and social workers who respond to 911 emergency mental health crises. I urge you to honor the vision with investing in community mental health resources, public libraries, educational programs, and recreational centers that provide a stable, lasting foundation so the community of Las Cruces can truly live and thrive in peace and safety. Thank you.
Mayor and City Council. I'm Ken Binkley. I'm a business owner here in the city of Las Cruces. I wanted to come and speak today. We did help with the 2024 gross receipts tax campaign. One of the things, the primary things that we pushed in that radio script, which many of the people in the county or city and county heard, was that public safety would be a top priority. And so that many thousands of dollars were spent on that. This was a message that many people in Las Cruces heard. I know there were meetings. I'm sure that these meetings had people attended, but I promise that the radio spot that went out to the voters had much higher numbers than the folks that attended these meetings. Additionally, I give my support to Chief Story. As a business owner, I had been concerned about break-ins and other types of crime at our office located by the Casa Autoplex now, formerly the Borman Autoplex. We had good policing in that area, and I feel like that is to the credit of him and his police force. I'm not a friend of Chief Story. I have met him a couple times at presentations, but we don't do things socially. If I see him in public, I say hello, but I'm not influenced by personal standards here. The last thing I heard from Instructor Taylor, I believe he's a professor over at the university or teaching, is that he was talking about needs and some of the basic needs. As we know from some of our marketing classes that we all took in college, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety is one of those key components so that people can enjoy open spaces and other things like being self-actualized. So I hope that the city will continue to focus on public safety since the campaign's goals were set forth, that would be one of the key items. Thank you.
Vic Villalobos for the record, mayor, councilors, chiefs. Honestly don't know where to start. These meetings are always just so exciting, all the different ways they go. But I think we stick with what we know, and that is public safety. And, you know, I think when we talk about public safety, it is what your constituents want. You know, I personally did not have the time to go to some of your meetings that you had and stuff, but I can tell you that people that I know who voted and when they voted, public safety was the reason they voted for that money. And I don't think anybody, not one of us, is asking that you don't spend money in other places. We need improvement in other areas. We know that we need improvement in other areas, but it has to start with public safety. I know that there are people in this crowd that think we can do without the police, that we don't need to further train our police, that we can somehow or another manage things on our own. Trust me, you don't want me managing that for you. That is not the outcome that this city probably wants. But I can tell you that if you just, I listened to Chief Story this morning when he had his news conference, and I can tell you that shooting at Walmart from a known gang person in Las Cruces with a long criminal history, no creative outlet you give that person would have made a difference that day on whether he was shooting police or not. But what did make a difference was that the police are trained to handle that situation. And you think about the fact, I actually have a friend that has their daughter living in the neighborhood there, and they were the first call I made that morning when I knew what was going on, because the police were able to hold that perimeter. Nothing else had to happen. Those trained officers and the training they get it were able to hold that perimeter and stop that threat from going out. That only comes from training and from knowing what they're doing and how to work together. And we've got to continue that. And so I got to tell you, you need to spend that money for training facilities for both the police and the fire, and continue your support, as I know you do, for Chief Story, because it is truly what's working in this city right now. We need all the help we can get. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Connie Chapman, and I'm here mostly today because the police held their press conference this morning on the shooting from February 8th that I have been waiting to hear about. And I am very disturbed, not necessarily about how it all came down, other than the amount of force used to pursue a shoplifter. I don't know all the rules and regulations around such things. I am just thrilled. It was a very quiet morning in that Walmart parking lot as that officer sped off to pursue a shoplifter. There could have been a child running out from between cars. We would have lost that child. I think That needs to be reviewed. The amount of force used to pursue a shoplifter, that's an issue. On top of that, all this talk about the GRT money, I also watched the work session last week and was a little bit amazed at the presentation. It did seem to skew the results I heard at the October 17th presentation by your staff. Just make sure we take the time to review it all. And I also want to say that public safety does not equate to police. That is just the way people assume it means it. But if I say public safety, that's not my definition, and it's not always the definition of anybody else. So we need to work on that definition of public safety. Also, some of that GRT money went to us old folks, and I'd like to make sure that those senior centers get the money they need. Thank you.
Before you start the clock, I would like to respectfully ask for an additional minute.
Usually it's ahead of time. That's why I was approached earlier before the meeting, but I'll go ahead and allow it today.
Thank you, sir. I wanted the additional minute to start this meeting by thanking and showing some love, because I think that's meeting.
I'm sorry, for the record.
Sorry,
state
for the
your name.
record, this is Derek Pacheco. I'd like to start things a little different and start with some love, but I'm going to need everyone's undivided attention. Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Chief, thank you very, very much from the bottom of my heart. You've always been very approachable, very respectful, and a welcome change from Chief Dominguez. Thank you. Mr. Daniels, I understand that fires are out of control in this county. Thank you for your service and your team. I know it's a thankless job. Mr. Cedillo, thank you for your continued service. Ms. Delgado, thank you. Ms. McClure, I didn't realize that you were such an accomplished author. Thank you for bringing your talents to this city. Mr. Matisse, thank you for your continued service as a business leader and a thoughtful, pragmatic thinker on the bench. Mr. Harris, I can't thank you enough for your presence on the bench. Your demeanor is much welcome. Your attention to detail and the way that you respectfully, with all your body, pay attention to constituents is noted. Thank you. Mr. Munoz, glad to have you. Thank you for taking diligent notes. I noticed that. Mr. Enriquez, thank you for your prior service on the fire team here, and I appreciate you as mayor. Akani, I can't say your name as well as everyone else's yet, but I'm working on it. Thank you for sticking around, coming in from Utah while others bounced around. You stuck around. I appreciate that. Mr. Douglas, thank you for your work. Ms. Rivera, thank you today for giving me extra attention. With that being said, this city and this county is in shambles, and it is really heartbreaking. We have a great divide here from the county to the city to the constituents. I feel so blessed to be amongst my peers that are so very smart and so very caring, and they show up time and time again to voice their concerns with their heart on their chest, knowing very well that they could be doxxed or otherwise pointed at when they're at the grocery store or giggled at by the ladies in the back row. Thank you. In regard to the county being divided by the city and vice versa, Project Jupiter comes to mind real quick. I don't think once we've heard any testimony regarding water restrictions here in the city. We're not allowed to water on Mondays. We're only allowed to water our tomato gardens every other day. Yet, we bring in major projects without consulting the other team. We're all working in silos and vacuums and not together. And I think if we worked together and took a more humanistic approach to things, we would figure this out in a heartbeat. In an LA minute, most of our problems locally would be fixed. It really would. They really would. Very disappointed that my counselor McClure told me that she isn't allowed to bring forth resolutions for discussion or for consideration. That's just untrue. That was you not wanting to bring forth a resolution. That was you not wanting to rock the boat. That was you not wanting to engage with a constituent that has a real concern about flock. Mr. Matisse, thank you for your phone call, but you didn't answer my questions on email like you said you would. I appreciate some answers. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Shannon Murray. Thank you for letting me speak. So I manage a small business in District 4, which is one of the most poorly run districts. It's a shame Ms. Bencomo isn't here. I do pay my GRT, but I live in the county, so I do feel like I have a little bit of taxation without representation. But I'm just here to say that I am for a training center for first responders, police, fire. Nothing makes people better than training. I tell people that with their dogs at the dog facility I have. You gotta train those dogs. Gotta train the people. Anyway, I'm all for building awesome places for people to hang out and, you know, inspire children and have be with your families, but if they're not safe, nobody's gonna go. So think about that. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thanks. Bye-bye.
See you, Mayor. Pro Tem, council members, Chief Story, Chief Daniels, and the officers back there.
Sir, if you could, for the record, state your name, and then you have to speak directly
You
into the
got it.
microphone.
I'm
Thanks.
sorry about that. Chris Apodaca. You all have my resume up there. I was here a couple weeks ago, and everything on that paper is basically my life. 40 years of my professional life in Hollywood. There are things that I know that they don't teach people in college as far as how the business really works. Relationships, respect is very important. What I would like to see happen, you know, I've been watching Film Las Cruces in the city, 8 years living in Hollywood and then moving back here to be with my mother 5 years ago. And the only thing that I really, looking at the 14 years, Ross finally got his soundstage there at New Mexico State, which is good. There's a film office and a nice website. They offer different services, but there isn't anybody bringing, Mayor, you said this Las Cruces is ready for business. We are now open for business, I believe is what you said. And from my experience, I'm working on some things in Las Vegas now at Summerland Studios, and also working on some projects in Los Angeles. I'm trying to get connected here. It just I don't think they like Hollywood people. They like Hollywood money, but not Hollywood experience, is kind of how I feel about everything, which is fine. If I'm such a big shot, why am I here in Las Cruces? I'm here because of my family.
I came here to be with my mom. She's since passed. I have 2 older brothers and an older sister. And most likely I wouldn't be here if they weren't here. I'd like to be able to do something for the film community here. You got to treat the city like an agent would treat a client. You need to get out there, and it's about relationships. Relationships and deal making is what I'm sitting here looking at the clock. That's not good. I'm just rushing. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time, I guess. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Gilbert Mesquita. For the record, I just want to say this is my first time attending the City Council meeting, and as such, it's my first time coming up here to speak. I wasn't planning on speaking, but I just felt compelled to after hearing some of the individuals give their opinion. I was not born. I was born in El Paso, but I don't claim it. Okay, but I grew up here in Cruces from my childhood, from elementary to high school. Went on to NMSU, and after I graduated, I joined the Air Force. So I was away from Las Cruces for several years, but I have seen it grow and become a larger city, no doubt, with all the inherent problems that cities have. But I wanted to speak because I felt compelled that I agree with the lady, one of the ladies that spoke earlier, that said about, pinning down definitions, because public safety does mean different things to different people. And someone alluded to the Maslow hierarchy of needs. If anybody remembers going, some of those courses that you have to meet the basic needs first before you're going to be interested in self-actualization, which is the top level there. Whatever that really means, it means different things to different people. But for me, public safety is about security. It's about having a safe place to live and work and play. Okay? Having parks, I'm all for parks and recreation centers and all that. I'm totally for that. But to me, unless you have a safe environment, and I'm sorry to say this, that I don't agree that you just throw enough money at some institutions and you'll turn criminals and bad people into good people. Police are required, and their training is critical. I was in security police in the first part of my tenure in serving in the Air Force, and I'll tell you this, that it was the training that we received in knowing how to respond to incidences that was able to either mitigate and solve those from becoming escalated. So I'm all for the police training facility. Totally support it. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Jeff Jorgensen, and I'm District 6. John, congratulations on your new position. Mayor, council members, police chief, fire chief. I was public safety when there wasn't public safety. I was a public safety officer in the state of Illinois. And back then, it was unheard of. Police and fire. The amount of training that a firefighter goes through and a police officer goes through is just incomprehensible. This city, I'm all for it, and so are my neighbors. I represent about half a dozen neighbors on my block in District 6, and they're in full agreement We have to have a public safety center to maintain the professionalism that we expect of the city of Las Cruces. I go around, I look at the low-income housing being built, the amount of apartments alone. God forbid if any of those ever caught on fire. I look at what's going on in our city with the homeless, the drug addiction problem, what happened the other day, the shooting at Walmart. And excuse me, it wasn't just a shoplifter. It was a shoplifter with a gun. You fire at the police, expect to get fired back upon. It was handled professionally, and I cannot tell you how much respect I have for both our police and our fire chief. I served all my life in public safety. When the fire department has to go to the park and retrieve a young infant out of a latrine, firefighter takes that lifeless body out of the blue fluid. That scars a man for eternal. I've seen things with my eyes that no one should have seen. And these gentlemen have to respect them. They need a new public safety facility that's been talked about since 2016. Let's do it, folks. Let's do it. And I love each and every one of you. And I can't say enough about my city of Las Cruces. I moved here in July of 2022. And I love this city. And you folks do an outstanding job. Thank you. And thanks to our police and fire chiefs and everyone on the police department, fire department.
Good afternoon. My name's Jim Hurst. What part of inalienable rights, certain inalienable rights, do you not understand? You know, certain inalienable rights, as in, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What does the pursuit of happiness mean if it does not mean the right to migrate, the right to flee persecution and oppression and poverty and settle in a country where you can hope to breathe free and prosper? The Trump administration does not recognize this right. They don't recognize that humans have rights by virtue of being born into the human race. Jefferson called them certain inalienable rights. He declared that we created our government to protect those certain inalienable rights, not to take them away. The founding of our nation depended on a compromise. The northern states would allow slavery, and the slave owners would agree to a national creed that declares all men are created equal, thus making slavery and tyrannical governments forever illegitimate. It took a bloody civil war and centuries of racial prejudice before the compromise paid off, but that compromise has paid off. Our society rejects tyranny and tyrants. We consider them illegitimate. It was reported in the New York Times that the Department of Justice is tracking those who make negative comments about ICE. We'll track this, Mr. President. ICE is illegitimate because it has become an instrument of tyranny. ICE has no respect for due process of law and our certain inalienable rights. The best way to fix ICE is to eliminate it. Americans want a president and a government that will champion our certain inalienable rights. We reject any agency of government that does not.
Las Cruces is right to oppose ICE by whatever authority you have. Thank you for doing so, and please don't stop. Thank you.
Mayor, City Council, I'm Jennifer Cry. Recognize the t-shirt. I think the budgeting process is incredibly difficult. I'm so glad I'm not in your shoes, but I'm going to give you some input. So you have a certain amount of money and you have a lot of demands. So you're going to support the police, of course. Who wouldn't? They're important. Parks and recreation, I think tennis courts come in here. Very important. You've got roads or transportation, broaden it a little bit. Oh, and then you have more police. Okay. Then you have fire department. Very important, I agree. We all need to have these services. And then you have general maintenance. Also important, not terribly exciting, but it's important. Oh, and then you have more police. And then you have, I guess I just called it other. But there's no library support. And I'm not just talking about the GRT. That just happened to be, I guess, the topic last week. Brannigan Library provides a tremendously valuable service to the community, and it reaches a range in age and socioeconomic status that nothing else does. So I just wanted to say, as a tennis player, the library is more important than the tennis courts. But that's just between you and me. If you repeat that to anybody, I will deny it, okay? But please, please support the library. Thank you. Oops, he turned off my time.
Hello, Mayor and City Council and community of Las Cruces. My name is Liz Bennett. I'm a public health social worker, and I want to start by thanking the staff and council and community for all of your effort in moving GRT-funded projects forward. I know it is not a simple or easy task. I also want to thank Councilor Karan and Bencomo for their effort to elevate community voices during the GRT work session. And as a community member, I wanted to share my disappointment that there was not more genuine consideration of investing in recreation centers, as it was an overwhelmingly supported project, and it is an intervention that responds to the immediate needs expressed by the young people in our community. To me, public safety means affordable housing, youth-centered spaces, economic opportunities that allow families to feed their children, and community-based therapeutic services that support people's recovery from generational trauma, violence, and poverty. From the work session, I understand that road construction is considered a gesture towards the intention to perhaps build a recreational center in that area at a later date. So I have a few follow-up questions from that work session. One, how long would road construction take? Is there a plan to invest in developing a plan for that recreation center? Does a plan already exist? And also, is the unfinished skate park one of the unfinished projects mentioned in the GRT plan? I'm considered about the lack of real investment required to meet the present moment needs of young people and their families. The kinds of investments that research demonstrates make a difference in young people's lives compared to the systems of incarceration that research demonstrates contributes to increased risk of future recidivism. In addition to recreational infrastructure, I recommend that the city invest in expanding the youth development and diversion program, increasing the rate of pay for their staff, and creating opportunities for young people who have graduated from that program to return as paid mentors, as credible messengers, to share their experiences of recovery. We're going to continue to see the same challenges in future generations unless we address root causes of these issues. So I look forward to hearing more about how this council plans to make serious investments in positive youth development. Thank you.
My name is Fred Huff. At the last two city council meetings that I spoke at, I talked with gratitude about the new park rangers trying to make our parks safer for regular citizens to use. When I first spotted the cadet rangers working with their LCPD mentors on January 12th, there was 11 illegal encampments in the Byrne Lake area. One of those illegal encampments had been there for over a year and nothing had been done about it. When I talked to the officers that day, I asked them why so many illegal encampments had popped up recently. They told me that the people in the illegal encampments had told them that the Community of Hope had told them to come to this location. Who gave the Community of Hope the authority to tell people to trespass wherever they want on city property? During the next few weeks, while the park ranger cadets finished their training, 9 of those illegal encampments were removed and cleaned up with the help of mano a mano. When the park rangers were officially on their own as of February 1st, there were still 3 illegal encampments in the lake bed that refused to vacate. With the daily visits from the park rangers and the placing of their orange no trespassing tags at the illegal encampment sites, they were finally vacated on February 6th. So today is the 11th day without any illegal encampments in the Byrne Lake City Park area. Thank you, park rangers, for stepping up to make our community better. Today, the Progress New Mexico activists spoke in favor of spending the taxpayer money raised with the recent GRT increase on more recreation centers and safe spaces. I assume that's parks. I'm going to interpret that as parks. When the GRT tax was being promoted, it was public safety, public safety, public safety. Now these people are wanting our GRT tax dollars to be spent on recreation and pleasure. That is not what the citizens of Las Cruces voted for. The city already has 90 parks or public safety areas. Now, while all of these parks are not the same, some are small and others are large, there are still 90 parks within the city of Las Cruces. The city police department is comprised of 200 commissioned officers. So we have almost half the number of parks as the number of police officers. Recently, our safe spaces have been the location of a mass shooting. We saw how well that worked out in a safe space. And also the murder of a baby in Byrne Lake. Please support public safety. Thank you.
Tim Jenkins here. I can guarantee you with 100% certainty that I have never in the history of my life had to call LCPD 26 times in 7 days until this last week. This tells me we have a major problem here in Cruces and should seriously consider supporting public safety over parks and recreation. I had to call LCPD 26 times this last week, all concerning issues with the unhoused community, setting fires, vandalizing property, blocking fire hydrants, etc. Not sure what has changed this last month, but this issue seems to have absolutely exploded here recently. I would like to make not only City Council, but also the public aware of an issue. The mayor of Rio Rancho was visiting Portland, Oregon a few months back, and across the street from his hotel was a Starbucks. He went to grab a quick coffee when at the entrance door he noticed an unhoused individual wrapped in a blanket shivering. He asked her, "If I buy you a coffee and a Danish, would you be willing to have a conversation?" Her reply was yes. He asked her point blank, "What is it that you are doing here in this freezing cold, dark, wet, snowy place?" Her reply was that her family fell on hard times and she lost everything. He asked her, "What are your long-term goals?" She said, "I am trying to gather enough money to get out of here." He said, "Where are you trying to get to?" Her reply was, "I am trying to get to Albuquerque," not knowing that Albuquerque is basically his backyard. He said, "Why Albuquerque?" And her answer should shock every last one of you. She said, "It is known nationwide through the entire unhoused community that New Mexico is the place to go." And he said, "Why New Mexico?" She said, "Number one, it is warmer down there. And number two, we are basically handed everything for free." He was absolutely shell-shocked and said to himself, "You have got to be kidding me." New Mexico is not only inviting the entire nation here, but also breeding and mutating this culture here in New Mexico. And I know, Mr. Mayor, when you were first elected, this was a major concern and question to you. My question is, what are we doing today to support public safety and to give our officers the tools they need to combat this monster that has been created by our own legislators and policies in place? Compassion does not mean lawlessness. Grace does not cancel justice. Mercy does not require abandoning borders. New Mexico deserves leadership that supports faith, order, public safety, and the rule of law, not policies that enable chaos while claiming compassion. Thank you.
Okay, next is the acceptance of agenda.
Harris, move to accept.
Second.
This is on the motion to accept the agenda as presented. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse?
Yes.
Counselor Harris?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo and Counselor Cran are absent. Counselor Munoz?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes. Next, we'll go to item 7.1, resolution number 26-102, a resolution authorizing the City of Las Cruces to accept grant awards.
So moved.
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor, councilors, city management, and the community. My name is Gabriela Prats. I'm the city's grant manager, and I have before you a resolution to accept a variety of grants for a few of our operating departments. I apologize about my voice. The first grant is made to the police department from the New Mexico Department of Public Safety in the amount of $124,571. This is the Law Enforcement Retainment Fund, and it is exactly for that, to provide law enforcement retention differential disbursements, including FICA and Medicare payments for qualified Las Cruces police officers. This is the fourth year of, this is year 4 of 4 years of grants under this award. The second is a grant / loan made to the utilities department from the Water Trust Board through the New Mexico Finance Authority. The amount of the grant is $2.7 million, and it required an additional match of $450,000. And this is to design and rehabilitate the chill shore tank and related improvements to this 2 million gallon water tank. The Water Trust Board also awarded to the Utilities Department through the New Mexico Finance Authority a grant in the amount of $15 million, and this one requires no match, to fund lead service line replacement project and associated activities, including lead detection, replacement, and design. Please note that this particular part of the project is actually for construction, or rather line replacement. The next is a grant made to the fire department through the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management in the amount of $400,000. This is to remodel fire station number 4, which is in need of updates to its 2 restrooms to meet code and ADA standards. The next is a federal award from the Federal Emergency Management Administration, or FEMA, to the fire department. It is in the amount of $456,182 with a 10% match, which is $45,600. These funds will support training, fees, and materials for 15 EMTs to complete paramedic training and certification. And that's it for today. Here are your council options. I stand for questions. Department directors and project managers are also in the audience to answer any specific questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Harris?
Thanks. On slide 4, do you have, so you mentioned that this is specifically for construction. Do you have more info on the specific projects that are planned for this?
Oh, it's this one specifically for the lead service line replacement project that the water utilities undertaken.
Mm-hmm.
So once they've completed the survey and the identification of lines that are lead, then these funds will come in to finish up the work to do the actual construction, or rather replacement of the lines.
Got it. Thanks.
Councilor Matisse.
Yeah, I just had a question. I think it's page 3.
Yes, sir.
That's a lot of rehabilitation. And is that tank very old? Is that what most of the work is being done?
I'm not sure as to how old that tank is. That would definitely be a question for water. And here comes Carl.
Carl, that tank looks real good on the outside. It's the inside.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilors, Carl Clark, Assistant Utilities Director. Yes, it does look good on the outside. It's always on the inside that is troublesome when you take a look at them. Yeah, we've seen a huge increase in cost for rehabs of tanks. Our last tank, the Missouri tank, was $2.1 million. So yeah, that dollar amount's pretty close. We'll end up replacing the fencing because it's in very bad condition and doing some grading work on site. And then we'll get inside the tank and it'll be interior and exterior work that we'll be doing.
Just a question, will that tank have to be emptied to do the work inside?
Mayor, yes.
And then will I live in that area, will I still get pressure for flushing? Or all that?
Yes, you'll still get pressure, or water pressure in that area. That tank has been rehabbed once before, and so from what I recall, it was pretty hot at that time, so I don't think we had any issues at that time. But we have boosters that are going to pressurize the area, and you should be fine.
Thank you, Mayor.
See no other, thank you. Christine?
This is on the motion to approve Resolution 26-102. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse?
Yes.
Counselor Harris?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo and Coran are absent. Counselor Munoz?
Yes.
And Mayor.
Yes. Next is item 7.2, resolution number 26-103, a resolution authorizing the City of Las Cruces to accept second quarter budget adjustments.
Move to approve resolution.
Second.
Good afternoon, Mayor, City Council, staff, and public. My name is Vanessa Perez, and I'm one of your budget analysts. Before you today is a resolution to accept second quarter budget adjustments for fiscal year 2026. Before we dive into the overview of these adjustments, I would like to share a few key reminders. The adjustments presented here today will mainly focus on updating available balances within our budget, and the data in this presentation is only a summary of the adjustments. If you would like full detail, please refer to your packets. Starting off with general fund adjustments, Parks and Rec is requesting about $20,000 for the investigation of the construction of the skate park. They are also requesting about $42,000 for the final invoice of the High Noon Soccer Concession Stand remodel. We are reducing the budget tied to LIDA 828 Productions. This is due to the termination of this agreement. Quality of Life is requesting $82,500 to increase funding for the senior meals program. And the fire department is increasing to request their expenditures by about $1 million. This is to cover public consultant group payments and New Mexico Healthcare Authority payments. The fire department is also requesting to increase their revenues by about $2.2 million total. $273,000 is expected from ambulance services. About $1.8 million is expected from a supplemental payment program for ambulance services. And they are also requesting $125,600 for some services that the fire chief has provided for the county. Last on your screen, we are requesting to budget $2.2 million in environmental gross receipts tax in the general fund. On screen, we have a list of various transfers going in or out of the general fund. The overall impact of all general fund adjustments requested today is an increase in revenues of $4.4 million, a decrease in expenditures of about $686,000, and an increase in transfer outs of about $1.6 million. Public Works, Police, and Housing are adjusting some of their grants to reflect accurate available balances. Parks and Rec, Utilities, and Quality of Life are adjusting 3 separate grants, and this is again to reflect accurate available balances. Quality of Life is reducing their revenues by a little over $5,000. This is for a donation that will not be received in fiscal year 2026, as it was already received and recorded in fiscal year 2025. Last on your screen, $2.3 million in revenues are being removed from the wastewater fund. This is the revenue that we just saw on slide 3. It will now be recorded under the general fund instead of the wastewater fund. Public Works is carrying over funds for the Brannigan Cultural Center project. Parks and Rec is adjusting their expenditure budget within the Telshore Fund, and this is for the legacy parks and playground renovation initiatives. Parks is also requesting to record revenues in the Park Infrastructure Impact Fund, and they are also requesting to increase expenditures by about $60,000 to complete the first phase of the Tortugas and Doña Ana Move Trail. The Prisoner Care Fund is receiving a transfer from the general fund, and they are also requesting to increase their budget by that same amount, which is $600,000. The Economic Development Fund is receiving about $1.8 million from the general fund and requesting to increase their expenditures by the same amount for some cinematic infrastructure improvements. On screen, you'll see a list of various transfers between various funds. And this is the last set of transfers for today's session. Before you are your standard cancel options, and I stand for questions.
Thank you. Councilor Harris.
Thanks. On slide 9, I guess can you go into a little more detail on the prisoner care? Are we arresting a lot more people?
Mayor, Councilor Harris, it's my understanding that we hold more prisoners and the cost of it has become more expensive, but I will defer any related questions to Director Leslie Doyle. To Comptroller Josie Trevino.
Good afternoon, Josie Trevino, Comptroller. A few years ago, I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago, the county had overbilled us on some prisoner care. We then were applying those overpayments to credits. Those credits are now fully paid, so this is just to get back on track to start paying prisoner care invoices.
Okay, so the overall, like this year, we're not incarcerating $600,000 more worth of people. It's just we had a bunch of credit and haven't been paying that yet.
And Mayor, Councilor Harris, that is correct. We have not done a transfer this year, so this is just the first one.
And
we're not short on funds. It's just to pay for the fees, but this is the first time this year.
And I guess just for public's benefit, how much about does it cost per day to house somebody?
Mayor, Councilor Harris, I'm going to see if anybody knows that because I didn't look up numbers.
This is not my good here. Good afternoon. Mayor, Councilor Harris, it's about $120 a day.
Okay, thanks.
Councilor Matisse.
Slide 8, I believe. And then the nomenclature, Telshore facility, what does that represent? Is that the Telshore Fund?
Mayor, Councilor Matisse, yes, that is correct. That is the Telshore Fund. Both of these initiatives were approved, I believe, 1 or 2 budget cycles ago, and it was intended to improve all of our parks. We just haven't fully expended all that money. It's been rolling over.
So I always used to see that as Telshore Fund, but now it's called Telshore Facility.
Mayor, Councilor Matisse, the full name is Telshore Facility Fund. I don't put the word fund in there just because the fund name is already at the top.
Thanks.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Mayor, Council, Vanessa, page 3. First, thank you and the team for putting this together. Appreciate the work into it. On quality of life, the increase to senior meals program, totally agree that that's important, and we've got to take care of our seniors as they took care of us when we were younger. That's an adjustment. Is that because of some of cuts somewhere in the federal state funding, or was that a change to a forecast?
Mayor Pro Tem, I will defer that question to Quality of Life Director Carol Bray.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, essentially that is one of the reasons why we are asking for this increase. We did see a decrease to what's called the NSIP, Nutrition Services Incentive Program. This year, I believe it was about $123,465 decrease in that. And so that is part of this. It's going to be a total of $165,000 that we will need over 2 quarters. We're asking for $82,500 this quarter, and we will ask for the remainder next quarter most likely. And then also, of course, increases in attendance of meals, as well as increase in food costs, which I think we're all experiencing. So if you have further questions, Roger Bishop is here, our nutrition manager as well. Somewhere, there he is. So, but thank you.
Thank you for catching that, and thank you for taking care of our seniors. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, seeing no other, Christine? Terry?
This is on a motion to approve Resolution 26-103. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse?
Yes.
Counselor Harris?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo and Counselor Cron are absent. Counselor Munoz?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passed.
You snuck up on me, Terry. Just like Mr. Douglas did. Next is item 7.3. 7.3, Council Bill number 26-016, ordinance number 3108, an ordinance amending Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 3, Subdivision Veterans Advisory Board.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mayor, City Council, Christine Rivera, I'm your city clerk. So the ordinance before you is to change the membership to the Veterans Advisory Board. So currently the membership is specific to several veterans associations. So we have like the VFW, Purple Heart, Women's Association. And so what we're looking to propose is to make all those seats at large instead of organization specific. The reason why we're looking at that is because there are times when it's difficult and takes us a little while to fill the vacancies when they're organization specific. And also we want to give the opportunity to veterans who don't serve in specific organizations the ability to come and apply for this board. And so we're changing it to at-large with no more than 1 member per organization. So how will we keep track of that? Well, that's when the board liaison comes in hand. We'll get the applications, we'll review them, make sure that we have the specific organizations listed out, and then he will review them and take them to the board for recommendation. And so that will be an internal process that will keep track of all the organizations that are serving on the board. And so that is the change, and these are your standard council options.
Thank you, Christine. Any questions? No? Okay, Terry?
This is on a motion to approve ordinance 03108. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse? Absent. Counselor Harris?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo and Counselor Cron are absent. Counselor Munoz?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion carries.
That was it. Next is board appointments. So this one will require a motion and a second. Jacob Kidd, new appointment to the CIAC.
Move to approve.
Second.
This is on a motion to appoint Jacob Kidd to the CIAC board. Counselor McClure?
Yes.
Counselor Matisse? Absent. Counselor Harris?
Yes.
Counselor Bencomo and Counselor Cron are both absent. Counselor Munoz?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next is notice of proposed ordinances. We have none. We'll go to city council member board reports and comments. Councilor McClure.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a couple things on my list, so let's see how fast I can get through them because I don't want to yap on forever. I'm wondering, coming out of the conversations today, if we should talk a little bit more, this is more toward city manager, about strategy. And I don't think the public does have an awareness of how we strategize to try to get the most bang for our buck in terms of leverage. As I understand it, we're not going to finalize this GRT until April, so a lot of this back and forth might still happen based on what we're getting from the state to a large degree. And I think, I'm not going to spoil anybody's news, but I think we did okay this year. But if we didn't do okay in some of the things that we still value, that we go back and think about how we can kind of pepper that into our ask. And that's something that's hard to explain to people just in general. I am also one to be like, let's do the thing. Let's take $500,000. Y'all have it in accounts. We can just throw it at the thing. And that's like, slow your roll. We got all these processes. And let me give you an example, because I want to give a shout out to Youth Development and Diversion. And they are going to be doing some of their life skills work at the county detention for some of the kiddos. And they're really excited about that. We toured that facility in August of last year. It took a long time to get all the emails back and forth, to make sure everybody had their contracts together, that they could go do this. So it was one of those things that took a really long time. But talking about what that strategy looked like is, sometimes people just don't understand, right? And I guess I'll harp again on my drainage ponds in terms of, yeah, you know, I would love to get you lights in a street, but we got to do the drainage ponds first, and those are not as cool, I'm sorry. Which I did actually reach out to the gentleman. He's like, what about the lights? I'll be next year, we'll try. Yeah, but it is really dependent on how we have to process some of the things. So putting things together, I really do appreciate speaking to people and getting more information. Everybody on staff, Chief Story has been really helpful talking about flock, hoping to talk about that again. But walking through the process, what does that actually look like? Sometimes it's not automatic, it's not overnight. I sometimes wish it were too, but it's not. That said, maybe we can be more explicit with it. I don't know what that looks like, especially for the library folks, of which I include myself, right? The other shout out I want to give to community schools. I went to the first meeting, they're like, your chair. And I'm like, no, what? And they're like, how about vice chair? And I'm like, slightly better. It'll be interesting. I guess they're coming at the end of February to kind of give us an idea of key practices that are happening at community schools. Thank you, Councilor Harris, for also responding to the call. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of opportunities we can leverage from the city also to the school system, right? So we're different entities, but we have common goals. How can we figure that out? I know Carol is shaking her head yes. She's also come to those meetings as well. So I'm looking forward to that, looking forward to being more involved. Mayor had asked, you know, please adopt a school. Booker T is now my school too. So what does that look like in terms of how we can help those processes happen faster? And lastly, I was also really worried about the Ren Fair with the closure of the Arts Council. And I know we ask Visit Las Cruces specifically to do a lot, community development, maybe also a lot. Can we consider helping that along a little bit? I would be interested in seeing, and you know, same as the mayor does a pitch for the whole enchilada, the Ren Fair meant a lot to sort of the nerdier kids, you know? So I would appreciate that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councilor Matisse.
Thank you, Mayor. And Council, I just want to accent something that's been happening over the last couple of months. I want to thank the mayor for prioritizing after-school programming. We have quite a movement coming. We have, I think, a very big meeting coming on March 11th. I want to thank Carol Bray and the Parks, Stephen. We had quite a turnout that attended that first initial meeting to expand and improve our after-school programs and our youth programs, and to include career training. So I think when we look at how we spend the money from the GRT and or the general fund and other revenues, we do spread it to all good programs, not just priorities in certain programs. We're trying to reach many of the youth in Las Cruces through the schools, and I want to thank Steve and Carol Bray and others. Cassie, I think, attended that second meeting, and invited Michael, Mr. Harris, Councilor Harris, to attend. I know John Munoz is interested in developing the after-school program. So I think we have a good consensus to move forward and make those programs better and actually attract youth into viable, good programs. And thank you.
Councilor Harris.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a couple things as well. I guess the main thing I wanted to highlight is Last week, Councilor McClure and I and Chief Story and Brad and Deputy Chief Daniels had a good meeting with Flock and to answer some of our own questions and some of the questions that we've been posed by members of the public. So I just wanted to give kind of a briefing on what we heard there. In no particular order, the main thing that we've deployed from Flock in this town are license plate reader cameras, ALPRs, automated license plate readers. Their primary job is to just look at license plates and detect the license plate of the car and put it in a database that can be searched. They also have the capability to do vehicle fingerprinting. So if somebody is witnessing a crime and they say it was a white truck with a rack on the back and a green door or something, you can put that in and it will try and find vehicle characteristics as well, absent just a license plate number. We were told in no uncertain terms, and I just bring this statement as I was told, that Flock has never and will never integrate facial recognition into its product. I make no judgment on that statement, just throwing it out that that's what they said. A couple things that the city can do to address some of our concerns. We can opt out of provisions in the contract that allow our data to be sent up for training of their machine learning models. So we can opt out of that. We can also opt out of certain sharing procedures. There is an overriding provision that they have in a lot of contracts that allows them to share data in emergency situations, and what defines that and who defines that is kind of unclear, but that is a provision that other cities have opted out of, and we might, I think Brad's looking into that as well. We also, they will not, of course, let us audit their source code. I think I knew the answer to that going into the meeting, but I did ask. So they do have an external security audit, and they've offered to let us see the results of that, but we wouldn't be allowed to do our own because they're not actually things that we own. They have no plans to integrate an on-premises storage option, so if we continue to use the system from that specific company, we use it on their terms, and we're just leasing it from them. We have as much control as they claim that we do in their contract. And to that end, I did ask about a recent, I guess the incident was not too recent, but the reporting on it is recent. In Mountain View, California, people might have heard that despite the city's wishes, Flock shared their data with other people in the nationwide. Not a surveillance network was another thing that they said. But their response to that was that, well, the city wasn't actually a client at the time. This was a demo system. They didn't have a contract. We can do whatever we want. So that, plus some of the other vibes of the meeting, left me feeling uncomfortable. I'm a technology person. I'm very pro, applying technology to community safety and doing so responsibly. But I will say that I did come out of this meeting maybe not entirely comforted. I do appreciate everyone's time who put it together, and for the representatives from Flock for coming out. Didn't come out, but over the Zoom meeting to help us answer these questions. And so, all that said, I think another thing that came up a lot today that I just wanted to reiterate is that I also see community safety in this kind of more holistic sense. And I want to make sure that as we're doing projects, we are doing things to lift up the community, fix as much as we can sources and problems associated with poverty, addressing root sources of crime to that end. And part of that is also, police and enforcement. That is definitely not the be-all, end-all. But it is something that I do take very seriously, is the holistic nature of that. Finally, completely different and much more positive. from the art board meeting last week. I think I mentioned the call for artists before, but the chalk walk is happening on March 14th at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Between the Brannigan Center and the museum in that little courtyard area. So if you've got time, come out and see what our local artists are up to that day, and support them and see the cool stuff that they're up to. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to take this time to thank everyone who came out and provided feedback. I think that's important. And when we talk about things, going into discussions with an open mind and a mind of curiosity, I think we learn from those conversations. I had thousands of employees before, and I got feedback almost every 30 minutes. And that's important. That it is important. Sometimes change our minds. Sometimes it validates what we've decided. When I look at the GRT discussion, I look at how do we provide value. The mayor often talks about value from a constituent perspective, and so I'm looking at how do we provide the best value to our constituents. And so I'm looking forward to additional discussions. I appreciate again the staff who's still here and hanging with us, and those citizens that came out and provided various feedback on various topics that you braved the wind out there. As you guys know, we have 5 seasons in New Mexico: summer, fall, spring, winter, and wind. So it messed up my hair as I walked in. I noticed Assistant City Manager Cedillo's hair is also messed up. So thanks for everyone for coming out and helping us out. The other piece I want to do is thank Christine and the staff, everyone who contributed to the visit to the legislature as that wraps up. It seems like we're getting some really good traction. The preparation, the contributions that you made, the organization, the timing of it was very positive. There are about 106 municipalities, 33 different counties, and other groups. We're all competing for funding, much needed funding for our city, for Las Cruces. And I think you all that prepared and provided information for those of us that attended was very well appreciated and very well received. So thank you to Christine, everyone who organized that, and the staff. Thank you. I also wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation as the event at the Walmart happened. It was definitely feel for the family of the person who was terminated. At the same time, I also am grateful that the police officer who was shot at came out of that situation safely as well, and as well that no other innocent citizens or bystanders were injured. I also wanted to thank, and please share this, Chief Daniels, with your firefighters, 2 firefighters who were injured, as we've had a rash of fires recently, and hope for their speedy recovery, and thank them for their service. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Again, I want to say thank you to everybody that came out today and spoke on behalf of the GRT. I said from the get-go it was going to be challenging, but it's a good thing. And again, thank you to the voters who said yes. That was first and foremost. Well, I should say that was second. The first thing we did was we sent out a survey to see if that would be something that we would move forward with. And a lot of that survey came back with what everybody's talking about. It was about public safety. It was about parks, infrastructure, our roads, a quality of life. And that's why we proceeded with putting that question on the ballot for an increase in the GRT. So we had a survey, we had the ballot, we had some public meetings, and I want to say we also have calls, the police calls that they respond to, the fire calls that they respond to. So we've got over 200,000 calls That's a voice in itself of what's needed in this community. So we're looking for safety, we're looking for the infrastructure, and we're looking for a quality of place. So trying to balance that out with state funding, with federal funding, and with now the increase in the GRT and our general obligation bonds, it is a challenge. We're not going to make everybody happy, but we are listening. We are taking care of the things that have been neglected, and we're looking forward to have a better quality of life. And that's where we're headed. And I say this as we all agreed on one thing, and we hear it from our constituents all the time, is what are we doing for our youth in our community? They are our future, and we are working towards that. And I think myself and all of council agreed that we need to put more efforts, more energy, and even more money into things for our youth and our community. So we'll keep working at that, and we'll keep listening. And with that, I'll turn it over to our city manager.
Thank you, Mayor Enriquez, Mayor Pro Tem Munoz, and city councilors. Ikani Tamopeo, city manager, thank you for your time. I just have a few announcements, and we'll have you on your way. First, Audit, want to thank Audit for managing our contract with OIR. They just wanted to make an announcement that OIR Group will be here on Monday, February 23rd, to present their 9th semi-annual police audit report to council. So just FYI. Parks and Recs update. The department will be offering a 1-week spring break camp during upcoming LCPES intercession running from Monday, March 16th through Friday, March 20th. To accommodate as many families as possible, we will operate at 2 locations, Jornada Elementary and Frank O'Brien Papin Community Center. The camp is open to children in kindergarten through 5th grade and offers a full day of engagement from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. We thank staff for managing that, and at affordable prices, $20 per child. Participants will enjoy indoor and outdoor play, arts and crafts, games, and daily breakfast and lunch. Registration officially opens at 8 a.m. February 17th, and will conclude at 5 p.m. Friday, March 6th. So just want to say kudos to our Parks and Rec staff making that happen. We've had the opportunity to visit with them just a bit, and it's just magic what they do. So thank you, staff, Parks and Rec. Keep up the great work. I would like to highlight the ongoing efforts of our community forestry and parks staff, who are hard at work on several tree planting initiatives aimed at increasing shade and beautification throughout our city. Within the last 3 weeks, staff have successfully planted 100 trees. Great job to you, staff. Building on that momentum, staff is currently in the process of planting an additional 40 trees along North Rise. Woo woo, keep it up. These efforts remain a vital part of our commitment to enhancing the city's canopy and improving the quality of life for our residents in these high traffic corridors. Great job, staff, keep it up. Economic development, yesterday, NMEDD, the New Mexico Economic Development Department, announced Las Cruces Innovation and Industrial Park as one of its first 5 strategic development sites to be designated throughout the state's site readiness program, marking a milestone in statewide efforts to prepare competitive investments-ready locations for economic growth. Each site was assessed for infrastructure, utility access, workforce considerations, development capacity, and alignment with long-term economic priorities. This designation allows the city to be eligible for pre-development funding. And now, drum roll. Can I get a drum roll, please? Thank you. Today, the industrial park was given a platinum designation through the Ready Sites program. This is the first standardized nationwide way to evaluate how a prepared property is for development. With 5 different levels ranging from emerging to platinum, our industrial park is the first designation in New Mexico. I'll say that again. Our industrial park is the first designation in New Mexico and the only 4th platinum designation nationwide. In the designation, it was stated that Las Cruces has set a high bar for New Mexico. Great job, Elizabeth Teeters, to you and your staff. Please pass along our appreciation. And with no further ado, last announcement, you may see that Brad Douglas looks a bit different today, and you are correct. Brad is actually in federal court handling a high priority case for us. And we have Michael Reyes. He's an assistant attorney, one of our assistant attorneys, and he's been with us for months. And I would like you to know him a bit more. So if that's okay, Michael, share a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thank you. And I'll be brief, everybody. So my name is Michael Reyes. I've had the pleasure of working for the city's legal department now for 4 months, led by the great attorney, Mr. Brad Douglas, and also Henry Becker as well. It's been a really an easy transition working with these fine gentlemen because they're making. I see a progress right now where they're making the office very strong, and I'm just happy to be a part of that as well. I am not from Las Cruces, but my wife is. She's born and raised. I've lived here now for 4 years, and it's really an honor for me to live in this city and work for the city. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Michael. Mayor, that is all.
All right, well, thank you, Michael. And with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
This is on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Councilor McClure?
Yes.
Councilor Matisse?
Yes.
Councilor Harris?
Yes.
Councilor Bencomo and Councilor Coran are absent. Councilor Munoz?
Yes.
And Mayor?
Yes.